And how about you, Erin?
We have an omni-channel. We do sell online, but and we have retailers that are the bed in the box that are definitely our competition. But you want to feel your mattress, you want to touch it. Retail and the brick and mortar experience is so crucial to our business. So we do a lot of driving people from the digital space into our brick and mortar. That's where the win is for us.
Yeah, what's the split? I mean, how many people do actually pull the trigger and buy online?
For ours, in what we do, it's a mix. It depends on the age group, like we've been talking about earlier today. The younger demographic really does pull the trigger online a little bit more frequently than the older demographic. Our bread and butter is that it skews female, but 35 to 44 is kind of our sweet spot at 35 to 54. But I think it depends. There's a split for sure. Younger is more online, but people still want to touch and feel the mattress, want to experience it before they make that big purchase, because it is a big ticket item. You are spending a lot of money on it, and it's every day. It goes into that health and wellness piece too. Is something that we've really been tying into, is that people are all about health and wellness right now. So how can we lend into that? But it definitely, brick and mortar is our bread and butter.
Yeah, and let's just stay with you for a minute, Erin. What are some of the moments or some of the segments when you find that people care less about price and more about sleep?
The wellness piece plays a big part of it. The health benefits. We work a lot with chiropractors because there is that health benefit. There's a partnership that we have with a lot of chiropractors in our markets where they understand the benefits. They can explain it to the consumer, who then comes in and can experience that. Much like Caroline was saying, our outfitters, we call them outfitters, they're expert outfitters. They go through a lot of education. They know how, when you come in, how to find the right bed for your needs. And I think our parent company, Tempur Sealy, has done a great job of setting up that space for us, that halo effect, where they talk about the benefits, the problem solution, and then we're the place to come get it. And we really lean into that a lot.
And just maybe, Jennifer, if you could tell us a little bit more about the men's products, the women's products. What is it that you think that's going on there at that moment that they are more inclined to say, I'm not looking at the price?
I think there's less competition in that space. It's definitely more of a niche market, whereas right now you see like gut health is just blowing up. Multis is huge. I mean, there's just so much competition in those spaces. But one of the places we dug in early on was in women's sexual health. And I'm going to say John's favorite product name right now. And one of our top products is called Happy Hoo Ha. It is a ladies supplement. But it's not something that you necessarily see on the shelf at every store. And it's also one of the biggest drivers of our digital business, because it's not always something that you want to maybe buy at Target and put on the register and have to have a conversation about it with the Target lady. I don't know. But in the men's sexual wellness product, it's sort of the same. Like, it's not something everybody necessarily wants to talk about, but it's a place where we've really invested a lot. And that's actually like our first real men's product that we ever created. Like, our market is millennial women, like across the board. So having this one like very male focused product in a space where there's like a lot of questions about sourcing and manufacturing and like, where did it come from? Where did these ingredients come from? We're a brand that is more trusted. So we were really able to kind of dig in there.
Okay, so in terms of pricing, like when you look back at the last 4 years, both of you are in categories that went crazy during COVID. So everything that had a health tag was different. You mentioned the stimulus money. But then we've had this period of really high inflation and shrinkflation and consumers being so much more conscious. Do you feel like you're kind of, inflation's down, COVID is sort of very much in the rear view. Are you back to normal yet? Like, do you feel like you know your normal consumer difference between brand and performance?
I can go first. For us, it is like a constant learning. I think this is one of those things where we figured out last year that it's not normal still. Like, we went into 2023, our biggest time of year is January. It's kind of when everybody makes their New Year's resolutions to be healthier, to be happier, and all these things. And it was huge. It was huge for us. And we were so excited, and we were like, yeah, we're back. Everything's great. And then we went into back to school, and what we found, like, we were kind of planning for this huge digital campaign, this, kind of everything that goes along with that to drive to our digital space. And what we found were that, like, customers just really wanted to go into the store. And we were shocked, frankly. Like, we didn't expect that. And I think every year it's a little different. So we're not there yet. I don't think we're back to normal yet. I mean, during COVID, you couldn't find a single elderberry in this entire country, maybe the whole world. So, there were definitely some like major supply chain issues during COVID, all kinds of weird stuff. Immunity was #1 product. Now immunity is like at the bottom. People are like, I don't care, forget it. But I think it's still evolving, and the customer behavior is still evolving. I think customers love stores. They love the real shopping experience, and after years of COVID, it kind of feels more like a novelty. And I think we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, I'd agree. We're not there yet. With COVID, we had disposable income. People are spending more time at home. Our sales were booming, and it was booming all year for us. There wasn't a specific time period. I mean, we have what we call, I learned very quickly, the bedding season, and I think Doug will know what I'm talking about. But we felt it all year. We felt we were riding that high, and then we got into post-COVID, and it's still not back to normal. We've trained the consumer. They lean into the tent poles. They know that there's going to be a sale for President's Day. There's going to be a sale for Memorial Day. So we've seen that. We've leaned into it. We felt all of our competitors in the digital space lean into that. The ramp-up's about 5 weeks prior to that national holiday. So we spend a lot of time seeding the awareness out there. I mean, people are in the market for a mattress all the time, but those tent poles are really what we've been leaning into, especially this year. And we went hardcore right after COVID with price, price, price. We went with what we called hard rock. It was all about promo, all about price. And what the data has shown us is consumers, it's a sea of sameness for them. And when you look at an ad, I know when I looked at my first ad, and I think we had up to 9 different promo messages in our ad. You can save this much, you can get this much. If you add a base, you can save, if there's financing, there's all of this, and the consumer how much do they actually take away and absorb? So we've changed our approach. This year we've really leaned into what we call a bromo. It's a combination of brand, where we're constantly building that awareness in what differentiates us, because we found out that's what the consumer wants. They want a guide. They want someone to tell them, hey, there's all of these things out there that are the same, you're selling them, but come buy them from us, and this is why. So we've leaned into a promo approach. We're in the middle of testing that now. That Save 800 message is really daunting. When you say Save 800, you think, gosh, what am I going to spend for that? I'm going to spend a lot of money. So we're testing and doing all that we can to get consumer feedback and learn and pivot quickly. That's the nice thing about the digital space, is you can pivot pretty quickly.
What's your best promo at this point? Is it down from like 9 messages to 2?
We start out with what makes us different. And I mean, we found out from our research that people think they liken mattress shopping to used car shopping, which isn't usually a pleasant experience for people, and these slimy salespeople. And so we've really changed it to where right out the gate we say, hey, it's confusing. We get that, and we're here to help you. We're here to make this completely different. We've changed our stores. When you walk in, you don't see a sea of beds. There's a table, chairs. You can sit down and talk. There's water. Take a minute, spend some time, let us get to know you so that we can help you find the right mattress. So we've really changed our approach, and it starts right off the bat. And then obviously you have to have some price in there. So we do mention price, but it really is about what makes us different and having a blend of the two.
So in terms of marking down, you guys, there are a lot of things you can't mark down. So you're experimenting with bundles and coupons and so forth. How much experimenting are you doing the other way with price increases? Like, how elastic do you feel you can be at raising prices?
We definitely haven't. We've definitely leaned into how we message the price differently. It has been, is it a bundle? Because a lot of things that we do are adjustable sets. So it's a mattress and a base, and people think the base is more like a hospital bed. So we've looked into what's resonating with people. Is it separating? Everyone knows a mattress. Everybody wants a mattress. So we've been creative with how we're messaging the offer. It's not necessarily save 800, it's save X on a mattress, but then get free gifts. That's another thing that we have at our advantage. Hey, you can get up to $300 in free gifts. So we've had to be creative with how we message price. There's not a lot we can do on things that are price locked in the industry, so we've had to be super creative in our messaging and how we, to your point, bundle them.
What are you learning about bundling?
It's tough because we don't talk about price really much at all, and we don't have a lot of margin. I mean, in our product, it's just not the kind of margin that you see in like fashion or you see in cosmetics or whatever. So we're a little limited by that. Plus, we do have we have arrangements with all of our omni-channel retailers so that we can't change our price. Like there's some structure to that. We have done a couple really great bundles in the last year. One of them was like a buy 3, get 1 free bundle, which was great. And we sort of modeled that off of some other retailers we saw in the space doing something similar. And then we also built out last year some gift sets, which was new for us. Like we really wanted to see if we could play in the gifting game in Q4. And, I mean, I don't think anybody wants vitamins for Christmas, but we made these beautiful gift sets with some other sleep accessories. We partnered with another brand, and they were great. That was more of a test and learn, I think, about like, can we play in this space? But for bundling, all of our products are built to be a routine. So all of our products are very complementary of each other. You can take almost all of them at the same time. So we are really, one of the biggest messages we drive is like, build your routine. Build your shelf, your vitamin shelf, your supplement shelf. So we've gone more that direction, I think, than like a discounting style bundle.
I think everybody's going to want you to leave here with a bundle, like you're going to give some melatonin supplements when you buy them.
It's the next partnership.
Could you maybe describe how it works for you right now in terms of how you see the balance between brand and demand in your marketing departments? I mean, in terms of these things.
I think for us, it's, everyone's really scared of going all in on brand. It's as soon as sales start to drop, traffic starts to drop, you immediately pivot and want to go in on price, and you want to go all in on, hey, what can we do to get traffic now, to feel that now? I mean, our outfitters, if it's door swings are down, it's, hey, what's marketing doing to get door swings? And so I think the gut reaction is to do that. I think we have to, especially with Gen Z and the younger, we have to tell the story, tell the brand story, keep the brand. I mean, we're a brand that's been in business for 40 years. And I think there's a story there. There has to be an element that you have to lean into the brand in some capacity, whether that be a mix of the two, because I think price will always play a part. At least in our business, I think that price will always play a part. So how can we meld the two? I think that's our biggest challenge over the next 2 years, is figuring out what's that next step, what's that look like, what's it look like if the economy doesn't bounce back at the end of this year, like we're anticipating and hoping. How can we pivot and keep our morale in our teams, because that's another big thing for what we do, is keeping that morale, keeping the foot traffic that we can, and how do we capitalize on it. So I think that's our biggest challenge, is figuring out how to do that and how to do it well together with price, because it is, your gut reaction is to say, okay, let's lower the price. And then it cuts into margins, and it becomes a lot more of a challenge. And again, I think you're always going to be chasing that if you're always worried about price. So we're definitely right now focused on building that brand affinity.
I think for us, we were a startup. We were founded in 2015. We were kind of a little scrappy startup. We got acquired in 2019 by Unilever. And so we spent the first 5 to 6 years of our brand just advertising brand. I mean, it was purely about awareness. I mean, obviously you can't buy the product if you've never heard of us and you don't know who we are. So that really was our focus for so long, is really just about brand awareness, household penetration, all of those things. And what we're seeing now is a more balanced approach to brand awareness, but also, at the end of the day, conversion, and understanding what drives a customer to convert in the digital space or in the brick and mortar space. But we have all these tools in place that help us sort of measure that ongoing and constantly recalibrate, because you can't walk away from brand and you can't walk away from conversion. It has to be kind of a continually shifting paradigm of where your money is going and where your attention's going.
Sticking with the digital for a minute, how are you guys experimenting, playing with... Well, that was funny.
Was that a dog?
It's so funny. I work at home, as a lot of us do, and I have a dog that occasionally goes berserk for no reason. And I spend so much of my life apologizing, like, so sorry about that. And I was like, is that my dog? No. He's at home in Maine. Tell me a little bit about how you're playing with personalization and digital and sort of how that's playing into the offers you're doing.
That is huge for us. In fact, that is, as a direct-to-consumer owner, that is the place where we truly can play in ways that our competing channels, I'm not going to call them our competitors, but the other channels where we sell cannot. So everybody at D2C has got a loyalty program and, messaging and that sort of thing, but we've created the most complicated journeys of email and SMS that are so personalized that it's just mind-blowing that it can even be done. So that, I think, for retention purposes, that's really critical, is just understanding how to jump in at the right time with the right person, with the right message. That has been something we've spent the last year working on. So that's been huge. We also have on our site now, we've got a great AI tool that sort of buckets customers by intent and immediately decides what discount will make them convert, what discount would make them not bounce, while still protecting the highest intent customers and not discounting in those spaces. And so for us, you can't have a conference without talking about AI. So, for us, we'll never use AI on the front end because we're a supplement company. We're highly regulated. Everything we do is regulated by the FDA. But the place where AI has played the biggest role for us has been on the back end side and making these immediate decisions about what customers' intent and behavior will be, and then being able to trigger different things around that support the conversion. So for us, that has been really the thing that we can do that, Amazon's Amazon. You go there, you buy, you don't buy, they're going to be fine. You go to Walmart.com, you go to Target.com, it's just like going into the store. So this is the space for us that we've really invested the most in on the direct-to-consumer side because it's the place we can play.
Could you maybe just give us an example of one of those crazy complicated paths?
Sure. I don't know, are the guys from Attentive here? Because this is all about Attentive. So we use Attentive, they're a great partner. We use them for both email and SMS, and I think the one that everybody knows is a welcome journey, right? You go in, you sign up, you get a series of emails. For us, one of the big ones, subscription is about 30% of our business. So it's a supplement, you take it every month, you get a subscription, it makes sense. But not everybody wants a subscription. So one of the most complicated and difficult to build journeys that we have is each product. Every single product has a certain serving size. We know what it is. We know a week before you're going to run out, and we have it set up for every single product that we sell, and we will message you hey, it's time to reorder. Click here, reorder. That's probably been the one that's most effective because even if you don't want to commit to a subscription, we still want you to repurchase. That's really, really important. So triggering that message at the right time, even in the right format. So some customers like SMS better. Some customers like email better. So all of those tools kind of go together to deliver that message the right time about the right product in the right channel. So that's probably our most complicated one.
Erin, you're at the other end of the spectrum. So if people buy their vitamins every month, is it 10 years, every 8 years?
8 to 10, yeah. And we have, even though it's not that often and that frequent, we have a system set up very similar to where we keep up. We have a series called Sleep Smarts that we send out to our database constantly that just says, hey, this is tips on how you can sleep better. This is tips on wellness tips, the pillow, all the way down to the sheets. It makes a difference. If you sleep hot, higher thread count sheets, not the way to go. So we have tips and tricks that we send along the journey, and then we will follow back up as you get to the end of the life of your mattress. We reach out and say, hey, we're still here. We know you bought this. Come back in. We're ready to show you the next bed that's right for you. So yeah, we follow them along the journey. Not quite as quick, but once every 8 to 10 years. It's typical mattress purchase.
And when you work with a partner, say a chiropractor or another back care provider, do you then work personalization into that kind of local messaging? How does that work?
We do. We are very much about local community partnerships, so we will spotlight that community partner that we have in that space, whether it be the chiropractor or if there's a gym or a wellness coach that we work with, we'll work them into that email so that there is a tie-in. We're tapping their consumer and then they're tapping ours. So it's a mutually beneficial. It makes sure that we're spotlighting that partnership and spotlighting how this is the whole wellness, not just the mattress, but it accounts for so much.
I see that Erin's standing up in the back, which means that we're supposed to wrap it up. But I do just want to just end with two questions, or the same question for each of you. Is there just some thing that you keep in your mind about the sort of markdown versus marketing that you really wish you had known better 2 years ago now, like your little mantra for how you make these calls?
That's a good question. You know, I think for us is we can't forget who we are. And that's been the biggest piece is we went all, like I said, we went all in on promo messaging and price, driving price. And for the consumer, the feedback we got is it's all the same to them. So I think not forgetting who you are and making sure that that is a part of everything that we do. Whether that, I mean, we just developed, we're getting ready to roll out and launch a tagline this summer that we haven't had. But I think that speaks to the consumer. I think we have to remember who we are and what makes us different. And I think that's the thing that we are constantly keeping in the back of our head now is for everyone out there, building that brand is so important. So for us, we've leaned a lot more into that than the price. Price will always be there, but we've got to make sure that we constantly reiterate who we are.
For us, it's total customer empathy. I think that is like the driving force of what anybody does in the direct-to-consumer space. You know, you have to look at everything through the customer's eyes. And that's really easy to lose. You know, and like I was talking about earlier, you know, we're a startup, we're still growing, we're kind of in our awkward teenage years of business growth. And if you ask somebody who works in the operations department who our customer is, they're gonna tell you it's Walmart. And that is a cultural thing that's taking us a lot of time to overcome, is really understanding the end user and really empathizing and identifying with their experience, whether it's in Target, whether it's online, whether it's on Amazon, like all of those places, connecting the dots for that customer and making sure that they're seeing consistent messaging, that everything makes sense together in a flow, like really understanding like what cities do we have out of home in and what does that look like in those geo-targeted locations. And that for us has been huge, is the geo-targeting for us. There's a lot of language, there's a lot of imagery stuff that we now can really tailor to those areas of the country. You know, like, for example, different schools, different parts of the country go back to school at different times. So when we launch back to school, we launch them regionally according to when those kids go back to school. If you just launch it in July and just kind of throw it out there, like, it doesn't feel personalized. It doesn't feel like you're solving the problem that the customer has in the moment. And that's what we intend to do, is solve the problem for them when they have the problem.
Great, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yes. Jennifer, Erin, thank you so much. Sarah, you can't give away my secret sauce about how I stand in the back here. Like, no one wants to see how the sausage made. Come on, keep it up. We have time for a couple questions. Any? Thank you.
Hi, Justine from PetSmart. My question's for Erin, because you mentioned it a little bit, but any tips and tricks how to continue get our finance friends to allow us to do more branding over low funnel, drive, price, media?
So that is the part that we've been working on. The finance, that piece is really tricky, and working around that in the messaging. You know, one thing for us that's worked in the finance, one thing we tested over right after the holidays, as people were coming back, they're very sensitive to the costs of things. So we tested doing monthly payments and put that low payment out there, that low monthly payment. You can get something like a Tempur-Pedic for as low as, and just making it more accessible for the consumer. And we worked with our finance partners to make that happen. Lots of small language and disclaimers at the bottom. But just as working with them to test and learn, I think that's been the biggest thing. And we're pretty small, so we have that opportunity to test and learn a little bit quicker. We can be a little bit more nimble with it. But it's definitely a test and learn, and keep putting out there what resonates and what we feel like resonates. And we had tested that a while back and hadn't done it in a really long time, and felt like that was a great time of the year to test it. We did see good results. I mean, our balance of share was a little bit stronger, so we're hoping that it attributes to that. But again, the attribution piece too is key.
Jeff, you got to be all the way over there, don't you?
wraps in for the Terrier Black barbecue. We're seeing too a lot of our clients are bringing in more CFOs into the conversation earlier, and sometimes it's right after a test and things look really good, and how much more do you need and scale and things like that. Just curious though, because the discount drug is very dangerous, right? When you're talking about margin EBITDA. So just curious, like how are you educating the executive suite into creating new habits, healthy habits, I should say, for the business, but also for consumers?
That is such a great question, honestly. I think that is a challenge in probably every role I've ever had. We are so lucky that our CFO is from Zappos. So if there's anyone who understands D2C and customer service, that's it. And so he has honestly been one of our biggest allies. And what we have done is create this sort of test and learn budget that nobody can touch. And that way we can sort of decide whatever we want to do with that. And that has created a little bit of structure. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can ask you or give you any crap about what you're doing with it. I mean, it's really all about learning. So that is something I think they did at Zappos that he brought to OLLY, which was awesome, and I love it. I think other people on that team, it is definitely more challenging, especially when 70% of our business is still brick and mortar. So it's kind of hard to justify sometimes the cost of doing digital business. On a direct consumer site, you need so many things. Like it costs a lot of money, and it's never going to be your number one channel unless you're a digitally native brand, which we're not. So that having that ally on the executive team has been huge for us because he can explain what's happening and also what's normal. So when you have a CEO, and our CEO is from CPG, she was at Ben & Jerry's, she was at 7th Gen. I mean, she's kind of like old school Unilever. She's amazing. And it's one of those things where like this is a slice of the business, but it's a bigger slice of the cost, and just making sure that everyone understands that this is the representation of your brand online. So even if the store isn't your top revenue driver, that presence and that brand presence, all of that is still really important. So the store is serving more of a purpose than just being a store. It's also your brand site. So I think that explanation helps a lot in just what's expected from a customer when they go to your brand site. Like it should be the number one place for educational content, should be the number one place for thought leadership. All those things that you do as a brand, that's where it all should live. So we have been working towards explaining more of the value of having a website versus just being transactional and just being a store. And that has helped us a lot.
Awesome. Jennifer, Erin, thank you so much. Sarah.